Secondary break. Carolina basketball. Graham Bunn here, former D1 basketball player, and got my better half, Mr. Zach Talitsky. It is episode 2 of season 2. So if you guys are just finding us, one, welcome. Two, if you're coming back, love you guys. And obviously, this is something that I love to do. I begged my brother-in-law, my brother from another, Mr. Zach Talitsky, who is an all-around genius when it comes to Carolina sports, to help me out and do this show. And here we are, season 2, episode 2, recapping Carolina falls in Lawrence to Kansas, the number 1 team in the nation. We'll get into whether they are that or not. 92-89, not to sound like a hater. But, yeah, tough game. I don't know what to make of it. And I normally would probably pass on doing the show immediately after the horn sounds, but I figured I needed it. So, Zach, how you doing? And half of me wants to say talk me off the ledge, and the other half of me wants to say, man, we're going to be really good this year. Like, really good.
Well, I liked it. I
Okay.
mean, one, I was entertained.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a lot of fun on a Friday night.
Yep.
And I love the fight. I mean, to come out in the second half, down whatever we were, down 15, I think, at halftime, and on the road in that tough environment. And Hubert has shown that he's able to reach the guys, and he's able to motivate the guys. And I think, all the games we lost last year is the same sort of thing. We didn't lose because we didn't have the fight.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the will. And I love that they showed up. And I know it didn't quite go our way at the end, but we were right there with a chance to win it against, number 1 team in the country. And so loved it. I mean, I had a great time over that course of a couple of hours. I wish that it would have ended differently, but I think there's a lot to build on for the rest of the year.
All right, I'm gonna let you point guard this episode. Where do you want to start? Positive, negatives, game recap, things that you wish, whatever you want to do. Let's start there, because I'll be honest with you. If this was poker, I'd be on tilt right now. I don't know which way is up, because there's so many good things to take out of that game, but there was so many things, so many little minuscule things that infuriated me. So that's I'm gonna let you kind of point PG this bad boy up for episode 2.
Well, let's start with your biggest positive takeaway from the night. What surprised you to the positive around how we played, or maybe an individual on the team?
So I haven't seen a lot of Van Lubin play, and it was a shaky start. But you're at Kansas, you're playing probably the biggest big you're going to see all year, and I was incredibly impressed with Van Lubin. I feel like a few fouls that kind of didn't go our way. The moving screen, that's on him. He's got to be better at that. That was 100% a foul.
That hurt.
I'm like, you got 4, and he's extending his arms. That drove me crazy. That's one of the minuscule things where I just almost broke my television, because I felt like he was showing such heart, such fight. I was becoming in real time a massive fan. And I am. I'm excited to see him play. I do believe I walk away from the game looking at Washington and Lubin saying they have enough for 95% of the teams. Kansas has Dickinson. There's not a lot of Dickinsons in the country. So
yeah, and that freshman they had, he was a handful too.
Yeah, so that stands out to me. The Lubin I hadn't seen any of, and just didn't know and didn't have a great feel for what he might be able to bring. He was obviously at Vanderbilt last year, and he's had 2 different head coaches, and just he's been through a lot. I feel like there's a lot there, so that definitely stands out to me on the positive, where I'm like, okay, he battled, he fought. Dickinson is not an easy guard, not an easy cover, and he made some offensive things. I think he's limited offensively, but I think he's good at what he does. I think he's going to give us some big games. I think there will be 15-12, 13-10, and I think in the aggregate we can get some of the numbers that we saw out of Baycott between those 2 guys.
Yeah, I mean, he finished a couple times on some nice pick and rolls where Cadeau found a little pocket pass. And you're right. I mean, he was battling. Got to clean up some of those fouls. I mean, we need him on the floor. Yeah. So, but I'm with you. I'll return serve a little bit. Yeah, I was just impressed that everybody seemed to be playing with confidence.
Mm-hmm.
One of my concerns is that, this team will just defer to RJ. There's some games last year where it felt like, particularly if Baycott wasn't on the floor, where it's just everybody was scared to shoot. Mm-hmm. And I know they didn't go in, but I like the fact that Withers took that open three from the corner at the end. I like the fact that Jalen took that open three. He's got to take that shot in that spot. And what, like, it was a force. I think it was a good shot at the time. And then,
well, that's where we part ways on that one. I'm with you with the Withers one. Withers had made a few in the game.
Yeah,
Washington had not. So
Yeah, and I get that. It's just, we've been begging for a couple years now for Jalen to play with confidence and when he's open to shoot that. And so the fact that he did and is looking for it, maybe in that spot, it wasn't awesome, but for the long term, I think it's good.
My only issue is time and score. 100%, I'm with you. I want him taking that shot throughout the entire game. But time and score, there's a few times where I just think there's other guys on the floor because we do have such talented guards and we have such big shot makers that I'd rather have somebody else taking that shot. Now, Withers had made a few. And so, he takes it. I live with it. And it was good. It was dead on, a little bit long, so he didn't short arm it. He shot it with confidence. But the Washington one I could do without.
And Captain Jack and Drake, I thought both played with confidence. Drake had the air ball, but other people have had air balls in fog and tough spots too. But
Cage got an air ball tonight, 0 for 1.
Well, they were a quick hook. He didn't see the floor again. We'll circle back to that. Yeah. But yeah, I just like the fact that the team overall seemed confident and assertive, and we're looking for their spots, really up and down the lineup. And I think that's going to be important for us.
Yeah. I mean,
what was your biggest negative then from the game?
I mean, obviously we get down. I'm a little disappointed, and I love him. I probably jinxed him. Before the game, somebody asked me, hey, if you had to give me your top 5 Carolina Tar Heels of all time that you love watching, I'd be like, hey, RJ's in there. Like, it's very rare nowadays that you get to watch a player of his caliber for these many years. Most of the good players come in and they're gone after a year, max 2. So you don't have that investment in the players that you have with someone like RJ Davis. But it's just really, really challenging in these games to have, because you don't get this very often. A National Player of the Year candidate, and you just don't expect on this level to see them struggle that much. The Alabama game, we saw them struggle. And now this game, we've seen him struggle. And that's 2 out of the last 3 games that I've watched RJ play that I just want more for him. I mean, he comes back. He's been through a lot at Carolina. And he's not going to always have good games, but like 3 of 16 and 1 of 7. I don't think he attempted a 3 in the second half. I just felt like they may have taken him out. And to be a National Player of the Year candidate, I didn't think anyone could take RJ Davis out of a basketball game.
Yeah, he missed some shots I think he usually makes, and they have good defensive guards to throw at him too. And
sure.
DeJuan Harris has been around a long time, 2-time Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year for a reason. Yeah, so that's always going to be a tough matchup. Sure. I think through his career, that's the type of guard, bigger, longer guard that's given him trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously,
doesn't attempt a 3 in the second half is tough. You know what I mean? Like, get him some sets, get him some looks, get him going. That's just what I was hopeful for, because I feel like when he plays, not even like great. The thing I love is like he did not play well offensively, and we're still in the game with an opportunity to win. Like, that is a massive win. I'm so proud of the team. I'm so proud of the staff. I mean, going into Fog Allen is not an easy place to play. And so, but I do love RJ so much. It's tough for me, and it's not enjoyable for me because he's my guy, to watch him struggle.
Yeah. I mean, it was an odd statistical game. We haven't had much time since the game ended, but I quickly pulled up the box score.
Yeah.
And so we had 11 turnovers to their 4. We were a -14 on points off turnovers.
Yeah. I think some of them were bad. That Withers one to Trimble, just miscommunication. Those happen, but just bad timing. You know what I mean? Like,
It's early in the season. It's on the road, tough environment. So some of that will get cleaned up. But if you'd have told me we were going to be -7 on turnovers, minus 14 points off, we talked about this coming into the game last time. Being guard oriented, we've got to win the turnover battle. So that hurt. Our 3 guards were 10 of 35 from the floor. You hit RJ, but the other 2 also. 2 of 13 from 3. And again, we were somehow in that game.
Brutal. Free throws. We attacked the rim. The only reason we're in that game.
We out rebounded them 40-39. I would have lost that bet going into the game. And like you said, plus 16 from the foul line, but then minus 18 points in the paint. But to see a game where you're sort of double-digit spreads on those sorts of things on multiple dimensions. And I think we might see a lot of that this year. Again, we talked about this team has a lot of strengths, but maybe some clear holes and weaknesses. And in different matchups, we're going to have to find things that we can exploit and then try to mitigate, what the other team is exploiting on us. And, to a certain degree, we did that okay tonight. I thought from like a game plan perspective, we were fortunate that they didn't pound the ball inside with more conviction. I mean, whenever they did it, it felt like they were scoring at will. And almost every time they didn't just be patient and throw it into Hunter deep, I was like, oh gosh, that's they're letting us off the hook there.
I was hoping, and who knows? Look, you go into Kansas and you have a chance to win with 1 minute left. The last 90 seconds didn't really go well for us, and we'll learn from that. But hard to argue anything. So prisoner of the moment. But I just didn't want them to. I wanted them to mix up sending the doubles and giving Hunter, 1 or 2. Like you can't let Hunter have 3 dribbles. Back now he's just too big, and he gets to a spot. He turns that left shoulder or turns that right shoulder because he's lefty, and he shoots a high percentage. So we got lucky and we got fortunate that he missed a few late that allowed us to keep building and making a comeback. But I would have loved to have seen the double and then us rotation. And if they make the 2 correct swing passes and make a 3 with a late closeout, I'd much rather lose that way than just allow them to throw it in one-on-one and we just get overpowered because we don't have the muscle to stand up to Hunter one-on-one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know. I think it's maybe the Oklahoma game last year. I can't remember how deep that was into the season, game 6 or 7, something like that, before we really found ourselves defensively. And we haven't found ourselves defensively yet in these first 2 games. And it's going to be a different model. Like, I don't think the way we did it last year is going to work this year. Like you said, I think there's going to have to be a lot more variations. And we have to change it up, keep people guessing, and take away their first and second option and force that live with something else, but not give up the primary. And hopefully we'll figure that out as the season goes along. Second half was much better than the first half tonight. The thing that jumped out to me about that is if we can get some stops, we are difficult in transition and open floor. I mean, the problem in the first half was like, they're shooting 65% or whatever it was, making everything. And so we're not getting anything in transition. And so then it starts to compound the other way. But man, if we can string together some stops and get some boards and get out, I mean, there aren't that many people in the country who can run with us. So that's exciting. I mean, it's fun to watch, but it's going to have to start on the defensive end, and we're going to have to figure out what works with this personnel. And we need to keep Withers on the floor.
100%. I mean, he's got to stay out of foul trouble. That's challenging. But he's got to be on the floor. I mean, he bless his heart. He played an incredible game tonight. He was a massive piece of that success that we had at Kansas. Are you concerned at all about our half court sets? I understand the last play. You don't call timeout. You think, okay, they're scrambling. We're going to get a good look. We've got great guards. You trust your guys. Totally okay with that. But if you watch Kansas out of timeouts, they ran a ton of action, especially that play where I was screaming because we used to run it for Anthony Stacey at Bowling Green, where you overload one side and the big man rides the defender up the lane so you can throw it over the top and finish on the other side of the goal. I can't remember what we used to call it. We used to run that action all the time out of timeouts for Anthony Stacey at Bowling Green. But I just didn't see a lot of half court sets for us. We're a problem in transition, and we're a problem. We get a turnover or a defensive rebound, long rebound, and we get out. Like, we're as good as it comes in college basketball. But one of the reasons AJ struggles sometimes is I feel like we don't have a lot of sets that create action to get him good looks. Like, that was the problem Alabama gave us. Like, in the half court, they locked him, they smothered him. It seemed like that was happening again tonight.
Yeah, it was much cleaner in the second half. I think in the first half we had maybe 3 assists, and they were able to put us almost entirely in one-on-one situations.
Yeah.
And there was no continuity, and we weren't really getting anything in the half court in terms of good looks. The second half, it seemed better, and I, maybe I need to go back and watch the game, but I don't know how many assists we had in the second half, but it seemed like we were getting – Cadeau was finding people. We were getting some better screening and rolling actions. To your point, we had that timeout that Hubert called there, with a minute left or whatever. And we didn't really get much. We got bailed out by that kick ball, but basically whatever that action was, I don't know if they took it away or we didn't execute on it, but it almost like turned into a broken play right away. So that was a little disappointing. You'd love to, in that spot, have something drawn up for RJ or him as a decoy or something, but a clean look, and we didn't really get it from there. Bill Self is one of the best in the business. It seems like every time they come out of a timeout, they get a dunk.
Yeah. There's a reason that he just tied the all-time record. He tried Fog Allen tonight for the all-time wins at Kansas. There's a reason for that. Also, big concern. Talk to me about this, because I don't know how Hubert's going to do it. There's a log jam in the backcourt because you can only play so small versus certain teams. Ian goes 4 or 5 for 10 points and some tough shots and really kept it within striking distance in the first half. But, Trimble – defensively, you need him on the floor. Offensively, he's such a weapon now. Elliott, you kind of got to have because he creates for everybody. And then RJ Davis, he's National Player of the Year candidate, even though he's struggling offensively. But I'm Ian Jackson. I play 15 minutes. I have 10 points, and I'm 4 or 5. Like, man, I really wish I could have had a few more opportunities. I wonder how they're going to balance that, because Ian hit some tough shots. He gets his confidence going. He starts finding himself. We're really going to have to figure that out.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer, because you're right. It's a problem finding all those guys minutes, and they all need to play. I guess my quick answer is we're going to have to play with pace and tempo and just run and, share those minutes and try to use that to our advantage. And we did that tonight. But yeah, I agree. In some ways it's easier for Drake to get on the floor, even though he didn't have the game that Ian did, just because, he's a little more flexible on the 3 and the 4.
Right.
I was happy to see that the depth lineup we were talking about, a little bit more tonight.
You called it.
I think we're going to see it.
And it worked well. It looked good.
I think we're going to see it. Yeah.
I wish Ian was 3 inches taller so he could,
Yeah. Well, we might just have to put him in there at 4.
Yeah.
And just roll with it.
The shot making ability from that kid. Obviously, we got a small sample size, but you hear all these stories, and a lot of it was on display in the first half. It's going to be challenging to keep him off the floor. I just don't know where who you take off then.
Yeah, agreed.
And I don't want it to be Trimble, because I feel like he's earned it. Like, he has earned the right to be out there, and he is delivering for us. So and RJ and Elliott, I'm just so happy that the confidence is carried over. When we saw it in the exhibition game against Memphis, without RJ playing, you're like, okay, this is exciting. You can see the work that's been put in. You can see the aggressiveness, but is it going to go away in the big moments in big games? And is he going to maybe revert back to being passive a little bit? But not at all. I thought tonight he was aggressive throughout, was getting to the free throw line, made every free throw. He's clearly put in work there too. So I just love the fact that he's carried it over into the regular season and on the road against Kansas. But yeah, I don't think there's an easy answer for how we're going to share minutes with these 4 guards. Yeah. Last year, after the Alabama game, if I'd come to you and said, all right, Carolina is going to go to Kansas, they're going to be preseason #1 in the country for the second game of the year, and Seth Trimble's going to lead the team in scoring, how close to that game do you think it's going to be? What would you have said?
Well, do I know RJ's come back, or is there a chance RJ doesn't come back?
No, you know RJ's here.
Yeah, I know RJ's here.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I feel pretty good about it because that probably means he had a big game, and you almost view that as a bonus. But hey, we saw it coming. I mean, even in that Alabama game, I mean, right after that game, we talked about him not playing in the second half, which still is a head scratcher. So I mean, you saw the confidence coming last year. So like, I'm not shocked that this is what he's turned into.
I mean, career high tonight at Kansas.
Well, I think we're gonna see a bunch of career highs this year. I mean,
agreed. I'm just, again, I'm baffled. It's a great problem to have, I guess. We got too many good guards, but sometimes that could be a problem.
Well, we said we'd circle back talking about minutes and where they go to Tyson. And he got in, and then he airballed it, and then immediately on the other end went under against Rylan Griffin, which I'm assuming isn't on the scouting report.
100% not on the scouting report.
And so he immediately sits down and doesn't see the floor again. We talked about this in the first show that he may have a hard time getting minutes. And Drake just does so many other things, and
he can shoot air balls too. So
right. I mean, but
this is the second game he threw up an air ball. Like, I get it, air balls happen, but 2 games, 2 air balls. Another one, 3 gets sent into the stands. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's there yet.
Yeah, and on that one, what bothers me the most is I don't know why he didn't shoot the initial 3. Right, he sort of hesitated on the 3, let the guy close him out, and then drove into a tough mid range.
Also,
we're at a point.
Bench.
We're at a point in basketball where the tough mid range. Everyone knows statistically that isn't a shot. I mean, so you either take that 3 and move it, or I don't think you want a 1 dribble pull up.
Also,
unless you're really warm
and
feeling it.
Yeah, he's fresh off the bench. Like, there's a reason why certain guys will pass up a good looks. Like, man, I just got in. Like, I need to run a little bit.
Let me get a little sweat going.
Yeah, I got to move around a little bit. So he tosses up an air ball, then he misses a defensive assignment. It's just like he's shooting himself in the foot. And I want to be more positive about it, but I also want to be honest in that I think he gets left out of the rotation. I wondered if he ends up going back to Belmont in December. That's where I'm at. Like, if he's like, I don't know, I don't see it. I don't see the painting on the wall here for me. Maybe I need to go back to, unless he can play 4, I guess. If he can play 4, maybe we find minutes there.
Yeah. And look, hopefully he has the mentality that he's going to keep fighting through this and fight his way in practice and earn minutes. But he's going to have to earn them. And I think Hubert's going to keep giving him, some chances here, but there's other guys who clearly seem more ready and more mentally confident and ready to do what needs to get done. So I think it's going to be tough, but I hope he has the right mentality and can fight his way back into some quality minutes.
Yeah. So we have American University on Friday, next Friday. So we have a week off, and then we play at Hawaii, which, most people say, oh, well, that's a win. Is Justin McCoy still at Hawaii, or is he done? Which would be interesting to see because he's a former player.
I'm not up to speed on my Hawaii scouting report yet, but
correct.
I'll be prepared.
Not a flex, but Hawaii. So we played at Hawaii. We played in the Hawaii Invitational when I was at Bowling Green. Not the easiest place to play.
I imagine you're probably jet lagged.
You're jet lagged, and like you end up having practice where you feel like it's 4 a.m. when it's 8 a.m. there, or 9 a.m. I don't know. It's just.
Are we playing in Maui or something? Or are we playing them before we play in Maui?
I'm looking at the schedule. It just says at Hawaii. So I don't think that Hawaii's in the Maui Invitational, but and then we play Dayton at home, and then we have Alabama. So like we've got some games, but there's going to be some tough ones. That Dayton game is going to be way harder than a lot of people think. The casual basketball fans not going to know how good Dayton is. The Dayton Flyers always put out a good product, and they've been really good the last few years. So I don't know. We've got our work cut out for us, but I will say I am very optimistic after seeing how hard those boys fought, how well they stood up to Hunter Dickinson, who's preseason first team All-American, National Player of the Year candidate, and just oversized, for anyone that we have on the roster and we fought. I hate to see RJ struggle the way he did, and it scares me that this is the first time we've ever seen RJ Davis without Armando Bacot. So are they going to be able to? A lot of people don't know. Bacot set a nice screen. I'm sure he benefited from some of those screens, and Van Leuven and Washington don't really have the mass that Bacot had. So we'll see what RJ looks like without Bacot over the next few games.
Yeah, and I'm not worried. Yeah, I'm not worried about RJ. I think of anybody, obviously he has a history, so I have the most confidence in him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just love the fact that the other guys were willing to step up and shoot the ball in those big moments. And it didn't necessarily work tonight there in the last 2 minutes, but I think it's important for the team and shows, just the confidence that Hubert's been able to instill in these guys. And so I take, I'm like 90% positive on tonight.
Nice. I got to give Elliot Cadeau. I mean, that last shot, off the dribble, fading, Hunter's contesting, it's probably 2 or 3 inches from being a splash.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And he shook them. I mean, he got a good look. I mean, all 3 of those threes at the end were pretty good looks. I mean, the Washington 3, the Withers 3, and the Cadeau 3,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Cadeau not being, obviously last year they're playing him in the paint and he's standing naked and not shooting that. He's off the dribble, mixing someone, fading, having to shoot the 3, not having a completely naked look because he's trying to get open. He's handling so many other things. I thought it was an impressive from Elliott so early on in the year. Like I'm loving the confidence he seems to have in his shot. And I think he's going to be a different player this year, which he was an amazing player last year. So that's great.
He had some dimes tonight too.
Dimes. I mean, he's special.
Yeah, that back cut to RJ.
Yeah,
and then a couple of those pocket passes on the roll.
Early the pocket passes were getting kicked or deflected a lot. Yeah. But I mean, Elliot Cadeau, he's
as good as anybody in college basketball at finding that guy in the opposite corner. I mean, he can rip that pass. He's
amazing. I think he's a better passer than Kendall Marshall was. And I loved what Kendall Marshall was able to do with the basketball and how much better he made everyone around him. Obviously a bigger guard, but Elliott, I mean, he is super, super special when it comes to finding guys and creating shots for guys. Unreal.
And let's not lose sight of this. Kansas is good.
Yeah. I mean, brand new team. Didn't they miss the tournament last year? So those guys, they're finding their footing too. Big game at home, second game of the year. They're loaded. Their roster is probably top 3, top 4 roster in America.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I think we showed quite well tonight. And I'm excited. I'm excited for what this team can accomplish.
Yeah, I'm worried about Cade Tyson, but I was also worried about Cormac Ryan. So, that's just me wanting them to be perfect so bad. Not perfect, but, really, really good so badly. All right, go Heels. Unfortunately, it doesn't go our way. No, we dropped to 1-1. I don't think we're going to drop out of the rankings too far, maybe 10, 11. I don't know. Tough place to play at Kansas, but the boys showed a lot of grit.
Yeah, as long as the pollsters watch the second half and not just the first, we should be okay.
I mean, I really don't even care about the polls. I kind of wish we were unranked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Although, hopefully, like, we're not on the bubble or sweating the NCAA tournament or anything. But a game like this, losing on the road, by 1 possession to Kansas, I would think actually is almost in the plus column.
Yeah, agreed.
When we get to the end of the season.
Agreed. Oh man, I wanted it though. I wanted it, but I was, the first half I was miserable for 16 minutes. The first 4 minutes I was like, oh man, we're right there. We can compete with these guys. We're good. Like my nerves settled. And then it just the wheels got shaky and yeah, the grit was good. I'm excited about what our front court can do, and I feel like I should publicly apologize because I was doubting them so much. But I feel like you doubt anything before it's proven.
Yeah, yeah, and if they weren't handcuffed by fouls, if Withers is on the floor more, Washington's on the floor more, Lubin doesn't foul out, I think it makes a difference. I mean, that
Yeah.
Withers not playing much in the first half.
Yeah.
Like once he went out, it really, really hurt us.
Yeah. He's going to be a big piece and good for him. So
Yeah.
exciting. We got a week until our next game. We'll get back to Chapel Thrill and get some shots up and hopefully just kind of reset and get after it. You know what I mean?
Go Heels.
Go Heels.